thought you said you weren't gonna let this wine thing mess with your work.
Okay, so I want to become a master sommelier.
Try being an actor? Is that like a pirate?
No, that's a Somalian.
Kelly Kendrick dated a Somalian. He stole her identity. Well, is she okay? I don't know. I don't be up in people's business like that.
Then why did you bring it up? That don't make no sense. Right?
Go, 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 go!
Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I'm Tom Merritt, and Brian Brushwood is dead, tired, and resting up from a... we can't say that it's a virus.
We could never say it, Tom. It would be unsafe for us to say that he's got the coronavirus and he's bedridden from it.
If I were to say Brian totally is sick with the coronavirus, that would be wrong. I would... It would be something you could clip out and take out of context, of course.
So we would never give you the materials to say Brian Brushwood has the coronavirus COVID-19. We would never give you that raw material.
That is definitely not something we can confirm.
That's right, Tom. See,
it's not for us to say.
This is the prestige that we bring to this show. We could never say that. Hi, Tom.
I really hope it's just a flu. I think it is just cold.
He was. This is not a joke. He was making out with a bar for about 20 minutes over the weekend, so it's probably that.
Folks, we hope he recovers fast, and we miss him. But thankfully, Bryce is here to step in and talk about all kinds of things regarding to how you get your television, starting with our primary target. Brian's gonna be so mad he was sick for this episode. Because first of all, our first topic today is just wild speculation. You know how much Brian likes wild speculation.
It's his middle name, Brian Rampant Speculation Brushwood.
Literally, like, you go to Norway or wherever he was born and look at his birth certificate. It says middle name, wild speculation. AMC Entertainment, the movie theater business, important for this conversation to distinguish it from AMC TV, which is a separate business. They're not the same. Sometimes people think, oh, the AMC theaters, they own AMC. No, they don't. AMC Entertainment is the theater business. They hired former Fox television executive Mark Pearson as their chief strategy officer. And as Deadline puts it, Pearson will, quote, lead strategy, business development, alliances, and partnerships, including with streaming services worldwide. So they're hiring somebody to talk to Netflix and folks and say, let's figure something out, right? That on its own is interesting to think about. But with COVID-19 shutting down theaters around the world, right now in places like Italy and China, but could happen in other countries, one wonders if theater chains should be moving fast and strike some partnerships now. And here's where the wild speculation comes in, Bryce. What if I could log into AMC Theater website, AMC app, and buy a ticket to watch a current run movie streaming on that app for a limited time due to the virus, etc. Right. But like, since, let's say I'm in Italy and they're like, Italian government has said can't go to hang out with other people in public places. So for the time being, we're going to let you watch current run movies at home through this app.
I think this is kind of, for obviously the virus is its own thing, but I think this is the perfect test environment for that, for a wide adoption way to offer day and date movies via a streaming service. I could even see them make some sort of like weird deal where, like, okay, say I go to AMC and I buy a ticket to go see Pixar's Onward, right? And watch it through, say, Amazon's instant video, not Prime, but the instant video service. I could even see weird stuff of like, we are going to start this stream, or you can start the stream between this 5-minute window, and maybe you can't pause, or you can only pause for X amount of time. Like, I could see them do really weird, restrictive things like that just to get the studios on board for a test application like this.
Right, because the studios have always been a little non-committal. They don't want to piss off their theater owners, but they're also like, man, if we can make more money by streaming, we're okay with that. We're cool with that. Like,
especially if they can raise the ticket prices.
Yeah, so studios, I think, would be all on board with this. The theater, obviously AMC is the theater in this case. So they have to figure out, okay, can we make, here's the two objections. One is we make most of our money off concessions. So we have to strike a deal that lets us make money off this without selling people concessions. I don't know. Maybe they get Amazon Fresh on board to deliver concessions, but probably it's going to be like, we're going to have to take a larger cut of this if we're going to do this because we won't be able to sell people, snow caps.
Or they just raise the price. I mean, maybe they raise the price. Maybe it's $40 or $50 a stream.
Well, and that's when the studios be like, all right, but if it's that expensive, how does that affect our profits, et cetera? But so they have to figure that out, and they need the technology, right? So they probably, if they're smart, want to partner with like Disney's BAMTech or maybe Microsoft with their Azure, or somebody who's good at streaming, somebody who knows how to deliver this stuff. And then the third thing is precedent. The biggest reason they won't do this, and I don't think they will, but the reason the biggest thing that would be stopping them is they don't want to set a precedent that after the virus goes away, people are like, well, wait a minute. What about that thing you did when, there was the lockdown? Can't you just keep doing that?
Yeah. But also, like, what if they did? I mean, that would be great, is if they could find a way that a temporary deal looks so good that once all the flags have been flown and everyone says everything's back in order, that this becomes a viable alternative. Maybe you do. I think you do that via pricing. I think you price it very steep so that you could still get profit as AMC, but you don't have to like run all of these physical theaters down because everyone's going to stay home. I don't know. The other interesting thing about this story, Tom, and I wonder if you thought about this very much, is in the other direction. So we're talking a lot about like taking the movies that a theater would run and putting them in homes. But we have reported on this show a lot about the issues that streamers are having trying to get their movies into the major movie chains like AMC, like Landmark, like Regal.
Yeah, I mean, now you've taken us back out of wild speculation territory into this is probably what this is really about territory. But yeah, totally. That's probably why they have Mark Pearson on board, is to work out like, can we do anything? We really want that 90-day window, but is there something we can do to make it easier for you to do the 90-day window? Or I don't know, maybe we could do a 75-day window, but yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what AMC is on, is let's figure out how to make this work. Let's stop fighting each other and just drawing lines in the sand, and let's see if we can work together. And it probably is more about bringing the movies from Netflix into the theater. Amazon movies go into the theater quite often.
Oh yeah, Amazon is not. But I know Hulu is also starting to do this.
I'm sure
too.
they could have an even smoother relationship even with Amazon. So yeah.
Yeah.
I just love that idea of like, what if on day one Pearson says, look, I know you brought me in here to work with Netflix about bringing the movies into theaters, but we're facing an imminent problem right now. And gosh, wouldn't it be great? I mean, actually, I just realized in my own self-interest, because my wife works there, they should partner with Fandango. They already have a great relationship with them. Let's have Fandango Now be the app where you can buy the movie and rent it. The apparatus is already there. We already work with them. It really is the perfect partner.
Yeah.
And make up some of what will otherwise be entirely lost revenue. I mean, this, we're not a medical show. I don't want to speculate where it's going with the virus, but there are going to be more shutdowns. And even if there aren't actual shutdowns, there are going to be people who just don't want to go to the theater because they're just worried.
I didn't even think about it. I went to the movie theaters this weekend and didn't even think about it. It wasn't until we did the Weird Things podcast earlier today where Andrew Main, our host on that show, mentioned that he also went to the theaters and was hyper aware of like how dirty theaters are and how it's very difficult to get them clean. They only spend so much time vacuuming up after the end of a movie, not exactly disinfectant. But I think more people will figure out like, do I really want to go to a hotbed of plush seats where nastiness can just live? And I
mean, to be honest, bring a little hand sanitizer and a wipe down the armrests. You're probably fine. Your most dangerous moment is if you're within 6 feet of someone who is infected who coughs, and then you pick up a droplet. Like that's what you're mostly worried about, is that person next to you rather than the actual seats or anything. But all of that said, that's not, people are going to be thinking, you know what, maybe I just won't go there at all. And that's something theaters are going to have to deal with.
So let's say that they do this. Let's say that they have AMC Home as a service. How much would you pay, Tom, to sit down on the couch and
I think
hit
because you'll be watching it with other people, they should call it COVIDs, because it's video.
Jesus, Tom. COVID. But how much would you pay for that ticket? Because I know I would be in the same camp of like, well, let's do a movie night and get a lot of people in here. What like I could see it up to like $60 or $70 even, I think.
Obviously, that's one thing, is they don't want people starting their own miniature theaters, right? So I don't know. I mean, that pricing becomes really tricky. And honestly, what if I were really to make this decision, I would be asking people at AMC and the movie distributors to run some numbers and say like, all right, if we expect this many people will rent it, and we expect we're going to lose this many actual tickets from people staying home, what's the price that covers that? Mm-hmm. And that's how I would actually determine the price. Because it's about making up for lost ticket sales, not worrying about how you put some language in there that says, you can't do this in the public. You can't show it for large crowds. You can't charge an admission, all that stuff that already exists on the videos that you rent and buy today in your own home. I'm thinking like probably close to $40 a movie.
Okay, that seems very.
I think that's where they would end up, which is close to the price of 2 tickets.
So the other, I just remembered this. We reported on this program sometime in the past few months, but AMC has AMC On Demand, which is a buying streaming service.
Yep.
Renting and buying movies. I wonder if that is also part of that real world factor of. Maybe they are trying to get someone to offload CDN stuff. Maybe they only had this thing for a month and they know it's a stinker. I don't know, but there's a lot. There's a lot here in the idea of a movie chain, the big movie chain, getting into streaming partnerships.
Yeah, AMC operates all over the world. It's not just in the United States, so it's kind of huge. But yeah, when it comes down to it, this is actually about dealing with the movie 90-day window and the streamers and all of that. And that's probably what Pearson's mostly going to be working on. But
yeah,
we can dream, can't we?
Love to dream. Hey, you know where you can dream every week, Tom?
In my bed. Yeah. Every night. Really.
Hopefully every night. I would say every night, but every
Not
week.
Just every week. Yeah.
We here at Cordkillers are bringing you the hottest news and goss from entertainment, and you can support us over at Patreon.com.
I see what you mean. Like, it would be a dream if everyone listening to our voice right now gave $1 to support the show at patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Yeah, if you got some value out of the show, if you found out about your latest fave, Tom, the latest fave, obviously, or some news you can use, why don't you throw some support? Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Get access to Spoilerin time a few days early, and you get to listen to the exclusive Patreon only after talk show where we stop and talk after the show about the show and other stuff.
Yeah, we had a whole after talk last week about what to do with Spoilerin time, our companion show.
That's right.
You can get in on that. And if you want Brian to get better, support us. Patreon.com/Cordkillers.
That's right.
Let's talk about how to watch. This is the second reason why Brian's going to be upset that he wasn't on this show. Our second topic is about branding. We know how much Brian loves to talk about branding. I'm so sad that he's not here. I struggle often with people complaining that there are too many streaming services. I thought cord cutting was going to save us money. That reaction rests on the idea that you have to get all the services. To me, what we have is a much better situation than we used to have, because you used to pay a lot of money to get almost everything, whether you wanted it or not, and then pay a little more of that, a lot of money, to get a few extras. And now what we have is, here's a thing, here's a thing, here's a thing. I can pick which ones I want. I can fit it in my budget. At least that's the way I look at it. But I think an article from Wired may have illuminated the disconnect between what I'm saying and what some other people are complaining about. I think of Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu as channels that you can choose to subscribe to or not. It's a la carte. If they're worth the cost, you get them. If not, you don't. You set your TV budget, you go from there. Prices for the services should adapt over time as people choose to subscribe or not en masse. So if you think, well, that's too expensive, don't get it. Maybe the price will come down or it'll go away and those shows will end up somewhere else. But many people view the services as the replacement for cable. And so they complain that one replacement doesn't have everything they want. And that if they want to get everything, it costs a lot. We're both wrong.
Oh.
Want to know why?
Why? Please tell me why.
Tyler Coates at Wired, in his article, says, for those who want limitless options and have the cash to afford them, the market is heaven. But for those looking to pick a few essential services, what's on offer is a little vague. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, these services aren't SciFi or MTV or some other kind of channel where the genre of the programming is baked into the brand. Plus, there are already genre-specific streamers like Shudder for horror, Crunchyroll for anime, etc. Picking a sci-fi, adventure, etc. channel would be great. We're off the quote now. This is me talking again. And so that's where I'm coming at. It's like, oh, I'll just pick the channels I want. But what is Netflix? Netflix makes itself into what you want it to be, but it doesn't have a direction. Netflix is different for lots of different people. Hulu, Amazon, Apple TV, they're not even different for different people. They're just things with a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Do streaming services need to have better definition, Bryce? Now that we have multiples to choose from,
right?
Do we need to think of like, oh, Hulu's the one with the great sci-fi and Amazon's the one with the great dramas, the way we think of channels on television now?
Yeah. You can see Netflix doing that with some of their brands. And this is more like online, right? The NX brand for the sci-fi and upcoming hot action and sci-fi stuff. The Netflix is a joke for all of their comedy stuff.
Right.
But those don't really show up in any meaningful way. Those are just social media accounts, basically. But what Netflix has that no one else has is scale. Like the amount of originals that Netflix is making a month, a year, is multiple times more than I would probably guess the next competitor, which I would assume is Hulu. And so that's something for everyone. That is should be the Netflix positioning, is something for everyone. Because otherwise, Netflix is not going to want to pare itself down to a single genre or a single product, like a budget cost, right? Like all these reality shows that they do for cheap, like some of those are good and people want those. What would you say for Netflix, Tom? I mean, it's hard to deal with such a big. It's like the Walmart. It's the Walmart of streaming services, except without. Well, I don't want to say no bads, but and that's the thing. Is Netflix has created something new. It's not cable because it doesn't have all the shows, and that's why people get angry. Like they're losing Friends, but they're supposed to have all the shows. Well, you only say that because they had all the shows you wanted to watch because you found them on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Right? Cable loses shows all the time. Nobody complains like there's nowhere to watch Friends on cable right now when it went away, and it did. So, I mean, people might have complained like, oh, it used to be on Bravo or whatever, but this is different. Netflix has created something new, which is a super channel. It has a lot of stuff, both syndicated and original, that can be tailored to you. So my question then becomes, do the other competing channels need to also be super channels, which seems to be the approach of HBO Max and Peacock and everybody? We're also going to be a super channel. If so, how many super channels do we need? Because the super channel is somewhat analogous to the space in our minds that the broadcast networks had in the early days of cable, right? I would go to ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox for a little of everything. They'd have live sports, they'd have news, they'd have dramas, they'd have comedies, and like mainstream tastes, basically, right? Like appropriate enough for the whole family.
And you only had room for a few of those, right? Fox coming along, a lot of people wondered if it could even survive, right? So 4 seemed to be the max until you specialized. Then you could have Univision be the Spanish language channel. Then you could have USA be the prestige drama channel, or HBO be the extra prestige drama channel. But below that, you had to specialize. You had to be sci-fi. You had to be food. You had to be HGTV, et cetera, et cetera. And so I wonder if, I guess where I'm coming as I'm talking to you about this is, we'll probably find out what the carrying capacity for our attention and money is for super channels, and everything else is going to have to specialize somehow and say, well, but we're like DC is a great example of specialization. We're a superhero channel. It's a DC specific superhero channel.
Yeah. I think Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon all pose a similar problem is like you talked about, like when Fox came up, is there room for a fourth? Well, now we have 3 more on top of this. We have Netflix and Amazon and Hulu, all who have different functions, different ancillary services, and different propositions. So Netflix is like streaming video, like streaming VOD for whoever wants it. Hulu is pushing really big on live TV and live sports, as well as like shows you would watch on TV. And then Amazon is trying to be its own ecosystem. The idea of like
Amazon's pushing more on live sports than Hulu is. Hulu just has sports through its live service, whereas Amazon gives you live sports just as part of your Prime Video package.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you can get like 1 baseball game a week. They've been doing some Premier League sports. So,
but with Amazon, you also get movie purchases, movie rental. It's a part of your Prime Video, your Prime shipping. So a lot of people probably already have it.
You also get toilet paper shipped to your house.
Right. And so I think they're each positioning themselves functionally different in terms of the services that they offer. But I think the scale of all 3 of them, they each would like to be a super channel in that way, at least as far as streaming VOD goes. And I think Netflix honestly is the most focused in that regard, in regard of functionality.
Because they don't try to do anything else.
Right.
Well, Disney Plus is also almost a genre focused, right? It's family friendly.
Yeah.
And actually, when you think about where the broadcast networks have been in the past couple of decades, they also differentiated themselves. NBC was the comedy channel. Like that's who had the best comedies.
Yeah, Seinfeld.
CBS was focused on the older crowd. Do you like TV the way it used to be? Yeah. And Fox was the edgy stuff, the outrageous things. ABC was a place with shows. I don't know what they're.
ABC, really I think, is the most mainstream. I think ABC as maybe modern mainstream.
And so I'm wondering if we see, because Netflix isn't tilted that way. Netflix isn't the place for X kind of programming. And I don't know if it will become that, because their whole thing is we will be whatever you want us to be.
Yeah.
Like we will change for you. We're the perfect spouse.
There's a good bit in that Wired article about talking about these services basically form-fitting themselves into a channel for you. And if you look at Netflix with the algorithm and kind of with how it deals with profiles, you kind of have that, right? You log in and you pick your profile, and then what you see is these are Bryce's things on Netflix. These are Tom's things on Netflix. Yeah. And you could go and search and find the other stuff, but what they have now is, let's really figure out who's watching and try to give them something. And
although they're never going to be able to fulfill that, because you're always going to say, gosh, but you don't have The Mandalorian. Oh, but you don't have Handmaid's Tale. Oh, but you don't have that thing on Prime Video that's really hot this week. So there's a point at which it can't push that message. And I wonder if it needs to narrow it to say, we're the perfect partner for you to watch a certain kind of television. I don't know.
The other thing that Netflix has going for it, we're really like breaking a lot of ground here on this. I feel like Netflix has.
We're fixing it. Netflix, don't worry.
Netflix has a very international production focus, right? They have tons of programming from all around the world, all sorts of languages, all sorts of localization available. I mean, I just started watching Omniscient, which is a new Brazilian show from the creator of 3%, which is like, it's Brazilian. It is a Brazilian show, but it has that global appeal. I think they will probably find it would be foolish of them to ignore the diverse spark of stories that they've got from the globe.
Maybe so what HBO did was we're just making shows the way any network would, but we're going to make fewer of them, and they're all going to be like super high production value, super high concept, and adult. We're not going to steer away from a plot line just because it shows some naked bodies or violence. And that was HBO. It's like, we're not TV, we're HBO. They mentioned that in this Wired story. Maybe Netflix steers into this in that same way. It's not a genre, right? It's world-class television.
Yeah,
You know, the best TV in the world, something like that.
Stories from around the world. Stories, everyone's stories for everyone. Like I think that's such a big push, is the global availability. Because how many times do we talk about a service, and whether it's people in the chat or in the email who say, "Well, I can't even get that in my country." Like Netflix is probably number one in terms of just global availability, I would assume. Because
was it AMC or FX that did Stories Matter? I think it was AMC.
That sounds right. That sounds like an AMC thing.
So I could see something with that flavor of like, all the Netflix shows are all over the place, but there's a a global supremacy. Well, maybe I don't know. That's starting to sound weird.
Yeah, I mean, because like I looked through a lot of the trailers and stuff for like the cold opens and to get ready for the show. I saw one for some like chintzy sci-fi movie, but I watched it and I thought that actually is kind of a Netflixy thing. Like this cheap little, soundstage sci-fi thing is something that Netflix would pick up, where I think the other streaming providers, honestly, Tom, I think the other streaming providers wouldn't touch because it looks too cheap or because it is such a small scale idea,
Nothing's too cheap. Netflix.
What about Hulu and Amazon? Is there what? Yeah, is there any saving?
So Hulu's in the midst of a change, right? They're basically becoming FX, so that's easy. They take the FX branding and just lean into that.
You don't think FX's branding is too too young and too edgy?
No, I think Hulu's small enough right now that they're like, yeah, we can be the young edgy thing. We can take that away from Netflix. The thing about Netflix is because they're being all things to all people, it's easy to like grab a portion of it and stake your claim on it. And I think Hulu can do that pretty easily. And it seems like that's the direction they're going with FX on Hulu. That
would be interesting. I mean, the FX on Hulu partnership deal is definitely almost feels unprecedented, but there have always been channel deals specifically for Hulu. But yeah, the Disney thing, I do bet that there is going to be some shift in how Hulu is presented. But
Disney Plus, family friendly. Hulu, family unfriendly. No.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But yeah, because maybe Disney expects that they will lose the other channel content. Do you think that's it? That they expect that they'll lose NBC and ABC?
Yeah, ABC, I think they do. TV. I think they know they will. Yeah. And I think they're preparing for that. Also wonder if they won't break off Hulu Live into its own thing and then present to you 4 pieces of the puzzle for your complete TV viewing. Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, Hulu with its FXy edginess, and then live TV if you want to get live stuff added onto that.
Oh, so maybe
essentially what they have right now as an offer, but I could see them further like clarifying that.
Because I know right now the branding for Hulu is Hulu has live sports. That is their marketing campaign right now, which is completely.
They're trying to drive money into the live for sure.
And maybe that's it. Maybe Hulu as a brand lives as live TV, and then the VOD service is an FX branded thing or something separate. I could see it, but it would also be a huge rebrand.
But whatever happens, and our speculation here is fun. It may or may not end up being what happens, but I think we are going to see the need for these services to carve out a niche in many cases. Some of them maybe not. Maybe Netflix, is the exception. But you have to have a reason to subscribe. Before it was like, oh, it's streaming. I'm going to get Netflix because it's the thing I can get. And now you have choice. So they're going to have to tell you why you should choose them.
Yeah. yeah. If you have any thoughts on this, cordkillers@gmail.com. Let us know how you guys think they should reposition.
And then we will tell you what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location.
Under surveillance.
Boy, I can't wait to get my AMC at home ticket for Black Widow coming to theaters May 1st.
Are you excited about Black Widow, Tom?
You know, I was.
Oh, really?
and I don't want to say this trailer turned me off of it, but I saw the headline on The Verge was like, oh, the trailer is crazy good and really got me excited for Black Widow. And I watched it and I'm like, this doesn't seem that different than the other two trailers that I've seen. Like, okay, I'm probably going to see it, but I'm not getting anything out of this trailer that makes me go, whoa, that's a part of the story I couldn't wait to find out. It's like, it's cool. It's about family. I like that. I like that aspect, but they showed me that in trailer 1. Like, yeah. I'm still on board for that. I'm just not building my excitement.
I don't know if I ever watched any of these Black Widow trailers, but watching this one, it almost made me think, what if Black Widow becomes the Mission Impossible arm of Marvel? And it's very stunt heavy, very action heavy, and the story is whatever it is, like globetrotting action. Like I would dig that, because otherwise I don't really like. Black Widow is a fine Avenger. She's a fine character, but I have no thoughts about a spy who is very good at her. That's just Batman.
You gotta really wow me with this to sell me on it as the Mission Impossible, and I'm certain they could.
They could.
But there's nothing in here that's making me lore wise, which I always love to find out backstories and origins and weird little facts that tie into the other shows, and I don't see much of that. They're trying to tell me it's there, but like, we're going back to the beginning with her family. And then, I'm like, okay, these look like a compelling family of characters, but I don't know. I'm missing a little a special sauce.
Yeah, see, I don't expect that there's a version of the story that isn't like predictable or expectable. So hopefully they can up the action game, but who knows? I guess we'll have to see. I will probably go see this movie though.
The Magicians season 5 is almost done, and it will be the last, at least the last on SciFi. The series finale is April 1st, leaving SciFi with only 2 long-running scripted offerings: Winona Earp and Van Helsing. Winona Earp about to have its 4th season, and the 5th and final season of Van Helsing is coming in 2020, so that one's going away. SciFi really just overturning their entire lineup in order, I think, to be able to own the stuff and make it available through Peacock, rather than have to strike deals. So coming up on SciFi, tell me if you're excited about these, Bryce.
Okay.
Vagrant Queen.
Out of 5, I put it at a 3. 3 out of 5.
Resident Alien.
A 4 out of 5.
Chucky.
A 1 out of 5. Not a horror fan.
And a show inspired by Day of the Dead, apparently.
Okay. 3 out of 5.
Yeah. All right. I was actually surprised by your Resident Alien. That's pretty impressive.
All I know is the title. The title sounds all right.
Okay.
We talked about. I know we talked about this years ago when The Expanse was canceled. That this was SciFi's plan to move to properties that they own outright. It's just weird to see that. I guess we have these upcoming things, but you would think that there would be more overlap in terms of the one wave ending and then another wave beginning.
Yeah, The Expanse was a couple of years ago now, and that's when this tide began to turn. So it is taking a while. I just look at their upcoming shows and I don't see anything I'm super excited about. They've been advertising Vagrant Queen really heavily during The Magicians, and it looks kind of a Fifth Element-y sort of, funny sci-fi thing. And
your hesitation, your trepidation.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to make an effort in this world where you have to make an effort to find time to watch things because there's so many good things. None of these are sticking out to me as something I need to make an effort to find time to watch.
Did you know that this would be the final season of The Magicians?
I didn't. I actually I caught up on season 4 right as season 5 was beginning, and then caught up with season 5 about the 2nd or 3rd episode and have been loving it. I love these characters. I wished I would have not fallen off, but I'm glad I made time to catch back up with them. I now hope there is a Margot spinoff series, and I'm sad it's going away, but also happy it won't stay too long.
Yeah, I hope that this announcement. It wasn't until you just reread this that I realized, oh no, this season is airing now. It will be.
Yeah.
This is not like the upcoming fifth. This show is airing now.
The current season is the last season, which also I hope means that they have a decent ending.
Right, because normally you would announce it ahead of time. This sounds like a very flowery way to say we canceled it.
Yeah, there are 4 episodes left.
Ugh, well, hope it's good.
And the last one is titled in a way that makes me think it's a series finale.
Okay.
But they kind of knew it was coming.
Well, it's good.
So,
It's good when a show can end itself.
yeah. HBO will adapt the game The Last of Us into a TV series. I take it back. There are 3 stories that I'm really sad Brian is not here for. The Last of Us will become a TV series on HBO. Writer and creative director of the game, Neil Druckmann, will be on the team, writing and executive producing. But the showrunner will be Chernobyl's creator, Craig Mazin. So pretty good team.
Yeah, Craig did a very good job with Chernobyl. I really wonder what this looks like, because The Last of Us as a movie has been reported on for years, and Neil Druckmann supposedly was writing that and having trouble adapting the video game story into a script. I suspect it's because the video game story is too long for a 2-hour movie even. So hopefully giving it enough breathing room as a series helps fill in that entire story. And with the new game coming out this year, or sometime this year, that could lead up to a second or third season, depending on how long the story goes.
Yeah. And they've said that's a possibility. So, I'd like to see that too. Amazon is bringing back Canadian comedy series Kids in the Hall for 8 episodes, featuring the original cast: Dave Foley, Kevin McDonald, Bruce McCullough, Mark McKinney, and Scott Thompson. Executive produced by Lauren Michaels. Just like it was back in the day. Yes, that's the guy who produces Saturday Night Live. Kids in the Hall ran for 100 episodes on CBC back starting in 1889. really was ahead of its time. Back in 1989. There was the movie Brain Candy in 1996. They did a 2010 miniseries called Death Comes to Town. So it's not like they ever fully went away. Mm-hmm. So we're getting 8 more episodes of Kids in the Hall. Crushing my head.
I've never seen Kids in the Hall, Tom. Should I watch Kids in the Hall? Does it stand up?
Feels like it's of its time to go back and watch. There's some pretty good sketches in there.
Look up a clip. I
would probably look up sketches and look for funny sketches. And then if you find that you're just loving every single one of them, then maybe go back and watch the episodes. But the sketches will give you the flavor of it. And then, I'm very curious to see what they do with this new series.
Nice.
Coming to Prime Video. Pornhub is releasing its first original video that is not itself porn, though it is about sex. Shakedown is a feature-length documentary about LGBTQ women and men from Los Angeles' lesbian strip club scene in the early 2000s. Previously was only available at the MoMA and Whitney Museum. This is, a high-quality documentary. It will show on a dedicated page where people can chat about it while they watch. The documentary's creator, Lila Weinrob, will make weekly appearances to chat with folks who are watching it, and it will be free to watch until the end of March on Pornhub before it heads to the Criterion channel, and then be able to be purchased in the iTunes store later this summer.
Are we stretching the term original film a little bit here, Tom?
Well, it is the typical stretching. Netflix does this too, where they buy a documentary and put it on Netflix and call it a Netflix original because they created it. But
they're not even, Pornhub's not even keeping the movie here.
I use the term here. In other words, Pornhub is funding rather than sharing and taking a cut of ads. They're saying, let's pay for a documentary to be on our website, be on our service here. So, but yeah, it's not exactly like they commissioned it. No.
Yeah. Another Pornhub stunt. Another stunt.
It is, but it's an interesting one because it's not the kind of stunt you think would get a lot of, I don't know. It's a highbrow stunt, put it that way.
Sure. It's a premium stunt, Tom.
Yeah. It's going for that museum crowd, which is not where I would have expected them to target. A couple of notes here. Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories now available on Apple TV Plus. Call me if you know anyone who's watched it. Home Before Dark is an Apple TV Plus show with a trailer out. It's about a 9-year-old who wants to be a reporter like her dad and discovers a cold case that involves her dad in a small town. It's based on a true story, coming to Apple TV Plus April 3rd. Starting in 2022, the PGA Tour Live will be included in ESPN Plus. Right now, ESPN Plus is $5 a month, and the PGA Tour Live is $10 a month. They may change the rate of ESPN Plus, but if they didn't, that would be a huge bargain. And Netflix approved Lost in Space for a third and final season to premiere in 2021. Showrunner Zach Estrin also signed a multi-year deal to produce a new series exclusively for Netflix as well.
I'll tell you what, Tom, that Home Before Dark trailer, you got a chance to watch that?
Yeah, it's intriguing, isn't it?
I was at the end of that trailer and going, this feels very different. It doesn't feel like an adult show with children like Stranger Things. This is it's a show with dark tones about a plucky child, reporter, but also it feels quote unquote family friendly. It's the NBC function of Apple TV that they wanted.
It's a Disney Plus like thing.
And I think it actually looks good. It looks good.
I think it looks good.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, I want to find out, like, trailer spoiler here. This is what happens in the trailer. You find out that the crime that she starts investigating, and her dad's helping her, like, I'm going to get you a press pass because I'm a reporter. I want them to treat you. She starts investigating a crime that he is involved in back when he was a kid. And then it starts to look like maybe he doesn't want her investigating it anymore. What's that about?
So I dig it. I really dig it, Tom.
True crime and children. I don't know if it's true, actually. It's inspired by a true story.
Inspired by a true story. So I wonder. Close enough. That's sure.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about something we've had our eyes on. We aren't going to talk about the new Pope on Spoilerin time this week because I was the only one who watched it.
I messed up.
I just want to say that this was, if you haven't been following this journey, it was all of us on After Talk admitting that we didn't want to keep watching the new Pope, but we probably would anyway. And we have all sort of kept up with it, even if we don't watch it every week. I watched it this week, and now I'm hungry for the season finale. So I'm very excited about that.
I'm so upset I missed it. I
also want to admit that I watched Too Fast, Too Furious this weekend.
Oh, how was that?
Eileen and I have decided that we want to become culturally literate in the Fast and Furious universe. Okay. And everyone's telling us we can skip the first 3 and go right to 4, but we're doing our homework. And great car chases. Love the car chases. Plot's, a way to get from car chase to car chase, but
Are they also going after a truck full of DVDs in this movie?
No, that's the thing. We're still in these are car movies. Yeah. Apparently Tokyo Drift is the last one like that. And then the reason everybody says skip to 4 is when they start to become heist movies.
I see. Yeah.
So you see, I'm learning all about.
You're becoming media literate about the Fast and the Furious franchise.
I'm fast and literate.
You're furiously watching these films.
Furiously literate on fast movies.
I have been watching. I just finished binge watching a new Netflix drama that just premiered called Followers. Tom, has this been on your radar at all?
It hasn't been. Tell me about it.
So this is an ensemble drama directed by Mika Ninagawa, who is a famous photographer, and she's done some other directing work. But this is about like 9 or 10 different people in Japan who are working like in the creative industry. So the two main characters are, a photographer who wants to have a child, even if she doesn't really want to be married, and a young actress who ends up becoming like a viral star on Instagram and has to deal with blowing up all overnight, basically. And it's all about like what some of these stories are in a modern world. So the story of like, okay, a self-actualized, hardworking photography woman also wants to have a kid and wants to have it all. But what does that look like in 2020 in a world of Instagram? And what does that look like if she's not really worrying about romance or getting married, and there's
she's going against the norms,
right? But she also like has this whole like a cast of people around her to give her support. And so I think it's a really interesting weaving of all of these different characters, all of whom have a story and sort of a resolution. I think it's really nice. And it was a pretty easy watch. If you know anything about Japanese celebrities, supposedly there are a ton of cameos.
Oh, really?
I know of two of the main ensemble people who are singers, Komai and Nakashima Mika, who are both singers. They have secondary, but they are in the ensemble of having a full story. So
is Tori-chan in it from Terrace House?
No, she's not. No, I didn't notice her. But there are
Yama-chan, Baba-chan.
Oh no, but there was a comedian who I actually think maybe the guy, the guy who sits next to you on Terrace House.
Oh, who's no longer by the way, spoiler, he's no longer on the panel because he had a tax evasion scandal hit.
Oh no, then maybe that wasn't him, because I feel like that's the kind of thing you would get decast from.
Well, if he was in it and had already shot, like they didn't take him out of the episodes that aired after the scandal.
Mm-hmm.
They just addressed it the week it happened, and he couldn't be on the show anymore.
Weird. I had no idea. But a lot of actors and actresses, singers, and stuff. So followers, a big recommendation from me.
Excellent. That's what Bryce is personally watching. But what should we be on the lookout for?
We got a recommendation a little while back from Anton, who sent in this. I've been watching Tone recently on Netflix. It's a Dutch cringe comedy about an introverted jingle writer who accidentally becomes a YouTube star. The Office really popularized mining humor from uncomfortable silences, but what sets Tone apart is that the titular character has zero agency. The plot happens to him, and he reluctantly floats along with what everyone else wants to happen. This is obviously a huge no-no in writing. You always want the main character's motives and actions to move the plot along, not the other way around. The show really has to fire on all cylinders to keep you engaged. It's interesting to see how hard they have to work at keeping it watchable. For the most part, it succeeds with a strong cast and implausible hijinks. The whole series may be a bit much for casual viewers, so I would recommend trying episode 5 from season 1, New Weken, and see if it hooks you. Great work as always, you guys. Anton. Thank you, Anton. There are 16 episodes across 2 seasons of Tone. That's Toon. Streaming now.
Spelled like tune, but pronounced tone.
It's spelled like tune, but it's Tone. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. Tom.
All right, folks. Listen, in about 15 days, I'm going to need you to buy a book. All right?
Okay.
You can pre-order it right now on Audible if you want. It is Trigger. It is my novel. It is a sequel to Pilot X. You don't have to have read Pilot X. You can read them in reverse order. That's the beauty of time travel stories.
Wait, really?
Right? Yeah. It's amazing.
Tom, I might do that.
So it's about Pilot X, a time traveler, and his spaceship Verity, who is slowly becoming more and more intelligent over time, and they have to save the universe once again. So please look for Trigor, that's spelled Trigor, wherever books are sold. Also, as Brian is always telling you, the computers we run the show on are provided by Doghouse Systems, and they have not said that they will storm the compound and repossess them someday, because they're nice folks, but we would like them to feel like it was worth it for them to give us all this equipment. So doghousesystems.com/v/rogue, if you're looking to buy a new computer, will help keep some kind of strike force from Doghouse Systems from descending upon us someday.
They would never say that they would send a SWAT level team.
They're not saying they're going to do that.
They would never say that.
Just to be safe, doghousesystems.com/v/rogue. Right now, if you use that, you not only help us out, but you get a free SSD as an upgrade. So cool. Go check it out. Let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
Hulu's live TV service now available on the PlayStation 4, joining YouTube TV as the options to replace the now closed PlayStation View. Hulu's existing PlayStation app will just get updated. So if you've already subscribed to Hulu Live and you've got a PlayStation, you'll just get it because you're logged in. Or if you want to add it, now you can add it through the app on your PlayStation.
That's good. I don't like that YouTube and YouTube TV are different apps generally in the different app stores. I like that Hulu is kind of all in one thing. That seems pretty good.
All in one thing. I'm back on the YouTube TV Try It train. I'm doing a side-by-side of Hulu Live because I don't like that I have to dig into the Hulu app to watch TV every time I want to just watch live TV.
Oh,
'Cause
really?
When I want to watch
So-
live TV, half the time I'm just like, what's on? Let me just turn on some sports.
Yeah.
And the grid, the thing that's supposed to tell me what I want to watch doesn't really work well for that. So I kind of like that YouTube TV is separate because then I can just turn it on and it's there.
There we go. Okay. Fubo TV has added the MLB and NHL networks. It already carried the NBA and the NFL networks. The Extra and Sports Plus packages have NHL now and MLB in the next few weeks. This seems like a good get for Fubo. I know, was it last year or the year before? I subscribed to Fubo for a little while because I could get the Pac-12 add-on. The only thing is, Fubo is kind of expensive, and if the idea is like pay like 50 some bucks a month for Fubo, and then these sports packages on top of it, that gets expensive, Tom.
Yeah. People want sports though. That's where all the money's made. So, and NHL and MLB are the two that I want to watch. NHL is not on Hulu Live. MLB is only on YouTube TV of the two. So NHL is not on either one of them. I would like to see. I'm looking at this thinking, well, if they strike a deal with Fubo, maybe they'll be striking a deal with Hulu pretty soon. The bad news for Fubo, though, is they don't have any of the Sinclair networks. So any of the Fox Sports regional networks are not on Fubo TV, but they are mostly on YouTube TV because YouTube TV and Sinclair reached a permanent deal to keep 19 of Sinclair's 21 Fox Sports regional networks on the service. The two companies could not agree on terms to carry Fox Sports West and Fox Sports Prime Ticket. Oh, maybe I'll be canceling YouTube TV because those are the two Los Angeles regional sports networks. They show the Clippers, Kings, Angels, and Ducks. There was also no agreement on the partially Sinclair-owned Yes Network, which carries the New York Yankees. So if you have YouTube TV, there was a temporary agreement to keep the RSNs on there for a while, but eventually Fox Sports West, Fox Sports Prime Ticket, and Yes Network will be going away.
The messaging around this completed deal is still very aggressive.
Especially on the Sinclair side.
Yeah, we made a perfect market deal, and they wanted too low. We will never stand. Like very. Aggressive.
Yeah, they're very, very aggressive. So we'll see. Maybe they're not done talking.
A free ad-supported streaming service, Tubi, will appear in 30,000 hotel rooms through a deal with in-room entertainment platform NCO. NCO will offer Tubi in rooms at more than 20 hotels and resort brands, with more to come. This is very smart. This is, I think, if you get one of these ad-supported streaming services that is robust enough, I wonder if you could see hotels in a distant future move away from having cable at all. And just having these ad deals.
I wondered too, like, would this undermine the rentals, right? Because those hotel movie rentals are a easy revenue source for hotels because they charge you a pretty penny to watch the sort of the first window. Like once the 90 days is up, a lot of these movies go into the on-demand space for airplanes and hotels and stuff. But I figure like it's just complimentary. This is for the people who don't ever spend money on renting movies in hotel rooms. This is free, so there's something for them too. And yeah, maybe it does eventually replace cable because more and more of these hotels are like, here's your Netflix. We'll flush out your account once you're done. Some of them even give you guest accounts.
Right.
Yeah. Quibi is giving people a 90-day free trial if they sign up for the service before launch day, April 6th. The service will eventually cost $4.99 with ads, $7.99 without ads, but that'll be after the trial if you sign up for that 90-day free trial before April 6th. On April 6th, Quibi is launching with 50 shows and movies. About half of those are what Quibi calls daily essentials. So things like Fresh Daily from Rotten Tomatoes under the direction of the production department headed by my wife, Eileen Rivera. Also The Replay from ESPN and Around the World by BBC News. So essentially the sort of like refreshing, like, newsy stuff that will keep you coming back to the app every day, they hope.
Tom, it's Quibi's wearing me down. I think.
Oh, really?
It's wearing me down. There are just little bits like, that sounds interesting. That could be something. The punked thing. But doing a home renovation show, but all the houses are houses where people got murdered. Tom. I think I'm going to be our reporter on the front lines for Quibi.
It's nothing to try, right? 90 days.
Yeah.
90 days.
90 days.
So I feel like the plan is working. They've got people because this has been Quibi's plan, has been like, we'll do this right. We'll get high quality content that people will be interested in. We'll make it easy to try, 90-day free trial. We'll market the crap out of it so people know that it's out there. Like, these are all things that Vessel and Go90 didn't do well. Quibi is hitting all cylinders. The question is, and this is something that they can't just, do the basics and make it work. Will the content be sufficient enough that people will remain subscribed? Now, one thing about subscriptions is once you do trials, most people forget to cancel.
Mm-hmm.
And so they could just be raking in money off of these 90-day free trials without people watching at all.
Or just the first month. You just need the first month where people say millions of people kept the trial.
Right.
Because most of them forgot.
But that will dwindle over time. Like, what you need is for it to increase in those months. And that means you got to have good content.
It does. And finally,
I can't recommend Fresh Daily, though. It looks like a great show.
And finally, Japan's NHK has set its schedule for 8K broadcasts of the Summer Olympic Games, which, yes, are still scheduled to take place at this point. Viewers in Japan with the right equipment can get 8K broadcasts with, count it, 22.2 channel audio. Good Lord. No details on 8K broadcasts outside of Japan have been released. Tom! They're making 22. I knew that they had made, so you've got the 5.1, the 7.1, but there's also 7.1.2, which are like overhead stereos, but also 22 channels, Tom!
This is where they put a channel in every opening on your body.
Yes, you're just surrounded. It's like the Matrix cameras. There's yes.
And this is one of those stories where, like, someday we'll look back and like, the first 8K broadcast happened at the Tokyo Olympics way back in 2020. An Olympics that almost didn't happen.
Almost didn't happen. That's right. That's a perfect story.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some dispatches from the front. Joe wrote in about the conversation about new Bob leading Disney, says, I do consulting and training and development and interact with HR professionals who work in CEO succession. It's actually a big field. From my secondhand knowledge, the likelihood that Chapek is coming in as a patsy to take a fall for tumbling Disney stock is counter to the whole field. So this is a guy who works with the people who do this for a living.
He knows.
And Joe says, while Brian painted a legitimate company politics case, there are some legitimate reasons to promote Chapek and expect things to go well. So Joe's saying, based on the people that I consult with, this is what they would do in this case. He says, there's a general principle that following a visionary CEO, it's best to have a steward CEO, somebody who can solidify the gains through financial discipline and operational controls. Tim Cook, great example. Chapek's background looks like he's another example of having increased revenue and profit margins for the parks, along with taking on consumer products before that. And then he says another factor is, yeah, we look at Star Wars and Marvel because that's right in front of us, but it's easy to focus on the big media projects and miss the fact that the parks have way more revenue for people, for the company than the movies. Twice the size. Theme parks make twice the money of the movies, with a projected $27 billion in revenue for each park and $12 billion for the movies entirely.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes we want to concoct grand HBO Succession style schemes, but Chapek seems like he's got the pedigree to really try and just keep it steady, in their incredible profits every year.
Television and theme parks are $27 billion each. It's not $27 billion each park. I read that wrong.
Got it.
But yeah, new Bob and why Disney appointed him makes sense. Thank you, Joe. Also on our after talk, which goes out to the patrons, like I said, we were talking about Spoilerin time, and does it work for people? Is it a good thing the way it's constructed now? And we got a lot of really good response from folks in the audience. Thank you for that. Most people talked about how they watched Spoilerin time, and a lot of them say they fast forward through the parts they haven't watched. Some people said they didn't watch it. But yeah, we appreciate that. And if you want to know what our plans are, where our thinking is, well, you got to tune into After Talk and hear us chat away about it, or just stay tuned here and we'll tell you once we've made a decision. But it was really good to get this kind of feedback from folks as we're thinking about maybe making some changes or maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah. It was great to see all that feedback come in because, it helps us, continue. So we don't stagnate. You don't want to keep stagnant. So it's nice to get some people who like the way it is, some people who want changes. And I know I already have at least a couple of ideas for stuff that we can do that won't rock the world.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, which is also carried on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk to you again next week.
Hey, Tom Merritt.
Yes, Brian Brushwood.
Know who I love even more than my own children?
Your other children?
No, not my wife. I know what you're saying. I love our $5 patrons. These are the people that keep us loud, live, and independent. Thank you so much, $5 patrons.
You know what? I love them more than not life itself, because then I'd be dead and I couldn't appreciate them, but really, really, really close. And I'm so thankful that they are here to make this show happen.
Thank you so much to all of our $5 a month patrons. You guys are wizards. You're champions.
Thank you, everyone.
You're heroes.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.